if I told you that this was the closest legal thing you could get to steroids, and that with this, you could lose up to 55% more fat while gaining muscle? But there's also other benefits to it as well, because it can improve how much energy you have throughout the day, while also improving your brain function, mood, and hunger levels. On top of all of that though, it's practically free. So what is it, and how is it legal? This pill represents all the benefits that you would see from 7 to 9 hours of sleep, but everyone knows their sleep is shit and could definitely be improved. So in this video, I'm gonna break down the 10 to 1 method. 4 simple and actionable steps that you could start using tonight to improve your sleep. Now, before we get started, I appreciate that sleep is one of those touchy subjects where people don't want to allocate ridiculous amounts of time or effort to. That's why I've chosen this method, because it doesn't add extra time into your day, you don't have to spend any money to do it, and you don't need to go and switch up your whole routine. You just need to make some small adjustments. So with that being said, improving your sleep actually starts the moment you wake up. Our bodies have an inner clock in them called our circadian rhythm. We're going to touch on it throughout the video, but it's basically your body clock. It manages your sleep, wakefulness, body temperature, hormones, and the things that directly impact it are things like light, irregular schedules like shift work, traveling, exercising. If we went back to caveman times, light is how we know that our day has started, and it helps to set our body clock. So one of the first things that we need to do to improve our circadian rhythm and overall sleep is get morning sunlight into our eyes, because this helps to tell your body and brain that your day has started. Not to mention, it also improves your energy and focus throughout the day, because you have this initial spike of cortisol, or the stress hormone, that makes you feel more alert. But there is a problem here though, because what if you're someone where the sun isn't that bright, or you wake up before the sun has actually risen? Well, in that case, you'll try and make the room that you're in as bright as possible so that you can get as much light into your eyes. Basically acts as the sun. That is the first simple change we need to make to start improving your sleep. And with that out of the way, the first step to the 10 to 1 method to improve your sleep actually comes in the middle of the day at lunchtime. Nearly 90% of the adult population consumes one chemical, that chemical being caffeine. But what a lot of people aren't aware of is the subconscious effects that this can have on your sleep. While caffeine doesn't actually give you energy, it kind of tricks your brain into thinking that it does. Caffeine blocks a sleep chemical called adenosine, and this builds up throughout the day to make you feel more tired and sleepy as it goes on. When you have caffeine, it basically puts up a wall so that this sleep chemical can't build up in your brain. But that doesn't mean that it disappears, because it keeps building up against this wall until the effects of caffeine wear off and it slams into your brain all at once, which is why you normally feel a big afternoon crash after you have some caffeine. So if you have caffeine too close to sleep, it can affect how fast you fall asleep, it can affect the quality of your sleep, and it can reduce the time that you are asleep, because your brain's still affected by the caffeine, and it's not getting enough of this sleep hormone to tell you that you're actually tired. And all of them sound like big no-nos if we are trying to improve it. So make sure 10 hours before bed you stop drinking caffeine. However, if you're someone that trained in the gym in the afternoon and you like to have something like a pre-workout before you train, look to having something called a non-stim pre-workout with no caffeine, so it won't affect your sleep, it won't affect how good it is, and it won't affect your performance the next day because you got a good night's rest. A quick little hack too, if you're someone that drinks Coke Zeros with your dinner, these have 2/3 a cup of coffee in them, so either look to swap to the ones that have no caffeine in them, or just look to swap drinks in general to something like a Sprite, or if you're nasty as hell, a Pepsi Max. 10 hours before bed, stop drinking caffeine. That way you stop messing with your circadian rhythm and you keep your body clock dialed right, telling you that you're tired when you're tired and you should be awake when you feel rested. The next step of the 10 to 1 method, we fast forward to 3 hours before bed. A mistake people unknowingly make is not letting their body be in a resting state before they go to bed. What do I mean by that? Well, 3 hours before you sleep, it's nighttime. And what are we doing at nighttime? We're eating dinner. But what you don't realize is by eating dinner too close to when you fall asleep, you're basically switching your body from a state of resting to working. If you're anything like me, you have a fucking black hole for a stomach, and you love to feel 6 months pregnant after you finish eating a meal. Your body digesting all that food that you just ate. 1, it's just uncomfortable to lie down in bed. But 2, it's affecting the quality of your sleep. There's 4 stages to your sleep, but the most important one for fat loss and muscle growth is called slow wave non-REM sleep. This is basically when your body starts to physically restore itself, and having a meal too late into your day can affect this. So it's important that you try and have your last meal 3 hours before you go to bed. That way you can give your body time to digest the food that you just ate, not feel like you're about to give birth to your food baby, and so that your body is in a resting state so that it's easier to fall and stay asleep. 3 hours before bed, have your last meal of the day. The next step of this method is 2 hours before bed. Let me paint you a picture here. You're asleep having the greatest dream of your life, and it's some vague ass dream with someone that you think is smoking. Then suddenly you wake up because it feels like someone is shoving their hand down your throat and using your bladder as a stress ball. So you wake up and go take a piss, only now to lie awake staring at the cold black ceiling, spending the next hour trying to fall back asleep. Because there's 4 stages to your sleep, you cycle through each of them in order. And if you wake up in the middle of the night, it disrupts this whole system because it has to start again at the lighter stages first, which can then affect how much deep and restorative sleep you get, which by the way is the kind that we want if we are trying to lose fat and build muscle. So by you waking up, you're not only affecting how much sleep you get, you're also affecting the quality of it. So the next step in this method is to stop drinking fluids 2 hours before bed. That way you're not waking up at 2:34 a.m. to take a pee, you're getting enough total sleep to feel energized and focused the next day, and you're also getting enough quality sleep to make losing fat easier, as well as gaining muscle. And a bonus tip that I shouldn't have to tell you, but leave no stone unturned. Before you go to bed, even if you don't have to pee, just go and pee so that you're going in empty. So to recap, 10 hours before bed, stop drinking caffeine. 3 hours before bed, have your last meal of the day. 2 hours before bed, stop drinking fluids. That takes us to the final step of the 10-to-1 method, 1 hour before bed. Like how we talked about at the start of the video, you have your own body clock, your circadian rhythm. And like I said at the start, light can affect this and make your sleep better if you're getting morning sunlight into your eyes. But it can also ruin your sleep later on. If you're absolutely abusing your eyes and staring at a light for 16 hours a day, which the majority of humans today are now, you're basically telling your brain that you're staring at the sun all day. And this can affect your body's production of a natural hormone called melatonin. This is a hormone that helps to tell your circadian rhythm when you should be falling asleep and when you should be waking up. If you're getting too much light into your eyes at the end of the day, it basically stops your body from producing this hormone. And so you're telling your brain and your body that you're not tired, which, like everything else in this video, affects your sleep quality and quantity. Falling asleep later, the quality of that sleep not being as good as it could be. Because if we think back to when we were cavemen, it wasn't physically possible for us to get light into our eyes at 9 p.m. at night. You only had your little bum-ass campfire to look at, not the sun. Which is why the final step of this method is to turn off all lights 1 hour before bed. Now yes, this one is a bit of a stretch because there's other people that live in your house, but you can try and control it doing a couple of things. 1, turn off all overhead lights. They're brighter than everything else, so naturally they're going to affect you more. And you can try and use things like lamps or things with warm light that don't produce white LED light. Yes, your phone also counts for this. And if you're a little scrolling demon before you go to bed and you don't want to give up that time, maybe just look to swapping your phone to the night filter so that the light isn't as bright coming from it. Or you could just raw dog it, turn all the lights off in the house and read a book like the old days. 10 hours before bed, stop drinking caffeine. 3 hours before bed, have your final meal of the day. 2 hours before bed, stop drinking fluids. 1 hour before bed, turn off all lights. If you're trying to improve your sleep, that is the exact method that I use to make sure that I get 8 hours of sleep every single night. And what I recommend to my clients so that we can help them to lose up to 55% more fat, hold on to and build muscle that they've worked hard for in the gym, and just improve their overall energy and focus in their everyday life. Not every improvement to your health and lifestyle has to come from lifting weights or the food that you eat. Now, yes, not all of these may be possible for you to do, but even if you walk away just doing 1 or 2 of these things, it's gonna help to improve your sleep massively. And by the downstream effects of that, help to improve your fat loss and muscle growth. But what if you've just started your fat loss journey and you aren't completely sure if you're doing the right things with the food that you're eating? Well, in this video, I help a stranger improve his diet by making small changes to fix the mistakes that he was making to make his fat loss easier. So to make sure you don't make the same mistakes, click here.